I think Jito is a good spot to buy and hold here. Extremely beaten down, this could 3x relatively quickly. Now that was Ansem, one of the most followed on-chain voices in the Solana ecosystem, and he's calling Jito an easy buy right now with a 3x potential on the table. But here's what Ansem isn't telling you. The token just pumped about 200% of its lows. The product he's excited about hasn't even launched yet, and the on-chain data is much more complicated than you think. So today we're going to give you a full breakdown on Jito, why it's a good or bad investment now, and our Jito price prediction. Let's get into it. As a disclaimer, this video is not financial advice. Be responsible with your own decisions. Thank you very much. Now, first, before we talk about the token, we first need to understand the company behind Jito token. Now, most people think Jito is just a staking protocol on Solana, which is not. Jito is actually an infrastructure company. Now, it builds the software, the tools, and the services that help the Solana network run more efficiently. In other words, it doesn't compete with most crypto projects. It provides the infrastructure that they run on. Jito has three major businesses. Number one is Jito Sol. Now, this is by far Jito's most popular and important product. It is a liquid staking token, as you can see right here. You're staking Sol to get Jito with an APY of about 5.5% as of right now. Now, this can change, obviously. And of course, you can use it freely in DeFi for, let's say, lending, trading, and providing liquidity. It earns you regular staking rewards plus extra MEV rewards from the tips, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Now, this often gives you about 0.5% to 1.5% plus higher yields than normal staking, and it's one of the most used assets across Solana DeFi. As you can see right here, Jito market cap is about $700 million for Jito Sol. Number two is Jito Solana Validator Client and the bundles in Block Engine. Now, this is the core MEV infrastructure that powers almost the entire Solana network. In fact, over 95% of Solana's active stake now runs Jito's software. It replaces the chaotic bot spam with clean bundles and an auction system where bots pay tips for priorities. Now, this makes Solana much more smoother, reduces failed transactions, and shares MEV profits back to the validators and the Jito Sol stakers as well. And number three is BAM, the Block Assembly Marketplace, which is Jito's newer decentralized block building system. It takes the MEV infrastructure further by making block production more transparent, private, and decentralized. It helps Solana scale better and stay fair as the network grows bigger. And here's the exciting upcoming one, JTX Trade, which is launching in July 2026, so in any day now. This is Jito's self-custodial trading app designed for serious traders. It offers fast limit orders, advanced tools, and CX-like speed, all on-chain with you keeping full control of your keys. 80% of its fees will benefit the JTO holders. Bullish. And together, these products make Jito one of the most important infrastructure companies on Solana. As of right now, the company has about 39 employees, over $100 million in cash, and is backed by A16Z. It's a company that spent the last 4 years building infrastructure that a large part of Solana depends on. So now you know what Jito is and why it matters. Let's discuss why Jito is a good or bad investment. Because being an important company doesn't automatically make the token a good investment. In August 2025, the Jito DAO passed a governance proposal called the GIP24. The Jito DAO receives all Jito block engine fees and future BAM fees. Now, before GIP24, all of the protocol fees were split 50-50. Half went to the Jito Labs, the company, half went to the DAO treasuries. The token holders got the treasury half, which was indirect and, to be honest, a little bit small. After the JIP24 passed, 100% of the block engine fees and 100% of all BAM fees now flow directly to the DAO treasury, with nothing going to the team. On top of that, the treasury earns a 4% fees on all Jito Sol rewards plus 5.7% of all tips flowing through the network. According to a research, those streams together project between $15 million and $50 million in annual treasury revenue. That alone was already a meaningful improvement. Then in May 2026, as Solana Accelerate in Miami, CEO Lucas went public with GTX. He said that Solana has the best blockchain infrastructure in the world, and they've spent the last 4 years building on it. Now, they're using that same infrastructure to build something for the traders, and that is GTX Trade. In July 2026, GTX will be live, right? It offers spot trading, it offers perpetual futures via Phoenix DEX, which we did a dedicated review video right here. So remember to check that out. Then prediction markets as well. And again, 80% of all of the GTX revenue goes directly to the GTO buybacks. In other words, the better JTX performs, the stronger value accrual for the JTO holders. Those are the two biggest catalysts that's potentially driving up JTO price in 2026. And by the time of making this video, JTO has already pumped up about 300% from its bottom since the start of 2026 right here. Okay, but let's be fair. JTO has a strong story, but it's not risk-free. Just like any other projects and altcoins, there are risks. And here are the three biggest risks that I think you should know. First of all is the token unlocks. Now, JTO circulating supply has already increased from around 100 million to nearly 490 million tokens, and unlock will continue throughout the end of 2026. With an increasing amount of tokens being released out to the wild, that means more selling pressure from early investors will happen on the chart. Risk number two, JTX trade could fail. Now, the 80% buyback policy is great only if JTX success. Now, the problem is that JTX hasn't even launched yet. Jito has spent years building the infrastructure, but building a trading platform competing with other platforms like Hyperliquid, for example, it's a tough competition. Plus, for spot markets on Solana, we already have Jupiter or Phantom Wallet. For meme trading, we also have Axiom or Pump Fund already. So I'm looking forward to the launch of JTX because the first few weeks after the launch will tell us exactly if the product has real demand or not. And finally, it's just the overall market. Even great projects struggle when capital leaves crypto market, especially altcoins. Now, if the broader market stays risk off and fundamentals alone may not be enough to push JTO higher in the short term. Let's say a Bitcoin price dropped even lower, that could be trouble. And so, yes, the story of Jito is improving, but there are real risks, and they explain why a strong thesis doesn't automatically mean a straight up line to the moon. Finally, let's talk about the most important part of this video, the JTO price prediction, and what I think JTO will do at the end of 2026. Now, as of the time of making this video, JTO is trading at around 85 cents, so relatively low compared to its all-time high back in 2024. Now, this was on Binance chart in the one-week chart. So the all-time high was at about $5 exactly. So we still have quite a ways to go up to that all-time high. So I think that in the next couple of weeks, it will eventually climb up to this resistance zone of about $1.7. But that all depends on the JTX product, because these recent highs and climbing up like this, it depends on the news that JTX was going to be a successful product release. However, if JTX trade fail, then this is going to be a hard target. So from now to July, and maybe at the end of July when JTX trade is out, and if it performs well relatively, then yeah, the price, we can see it going up to about $1.7, $1.8. And once JTX trade announce their first buyback using 80% of its revenue, then the price could climb up higher to about $2 or even $2.6 right here. However, that is the base case, all right? The bear case is very unfortunate that JTX trade launch was is a complete disaster and failure, all right? Nobody wants to trade on JTX. The demand is low, as you can clearly see from Phoenix Exchange, right? Because JTX trade, when they release, they're going to integrate Phoenix into their exchange. And Phoenix is not in a good spot right now when it comes to top perp dexes on Solana. Right, Hyperliquid is still taking the stage, and there are GM Trade and Pacifica as well. And so if JTX Trade launch were to be a failure, then we're going to see this chart reversing very quickly down to about 40 cents or even lower than that, maybe even reclaiming the previous all-time low of about 26 cents, because now people see that the product doesn't have any real demands and the buybacks don't really matter. And finally is the bull case. Now, the bull case is everything working out perfectly. Okay, Bitcoin is recovering and JTX trade launch was a huge success. People see huge demands and huge revenues earned from JTX launch. And if that were to happen, then obviously JTO will climb back to 2.9 to even $3 and even breaking through that all-time high of about $5. This could very well happen in crypto because if you look at the FTV of JTO, it's only about $800 million, relatively high, but with a company of about 4 years of experience in Solana, even more than that, $5 billion in FTV is not an impossible task to achieve. We've seen that happen with a lot of crypto tokens, all right? But I'm saying that it's going to be hard for that to happen. Okay, so I'm more leaning towards the base case where JTO price will eventually climb back to about $1.5 as a range for a reason that JTO's trade platform launch was a huge success. So it's gonna be a relative like 2x from this price. All right, but after that, depending on the JTX success or not, I mean, it's gonna maybe dump back down to about like 85 cents and even lower than that to maybe 50 cents. And then we're going to have a huge downward trend momentum after that, right? But yeah, first we're going to climb back to this range right here and eventually going down. And that's it for my video about Jito. I hope that you guys like it. If you really do, make sure to drop a comment what you think about JTO as a token and Jito as a project. And like and subscribe to CryptoNinjas for more content like this. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Daily out.